when I first heard about this, I thought, well, is this just the opposition party clutching at straws? And it kind of reminded me of the first Trump campaign, all about Hillary's emails, and a big fuss was made of the fact that some of her emails were sent through the wrong email account, and apparently that was a big deal. Honestly, I didn't understand why at the time, and perhaps less of a problem for the education minister in little old New Zealand, perhaps.
Yeah, look, I think your questions are very good ones. And with issues like Hillary Clinton and now Erica Stanford and Claire Curran, in fact,
Yep.
back in 2018 had a similar situation. And there's been other ones around the world. Yeah, you can ask, well, is this kind of just a partisan political sort of dirt throwing? Is it the media being pedantic, being a bit too goody two shoes about, oh, well, you've used the wrong email account or the wrong stationery or not
Yeah.
crossed your I's and T's properly? And yeah, I think we should always be watching out for that just being a part of the game playing. But I do think these issues are serious. I thought they were issues of importance when Hillary Clinton was found to be using a private email server and deleting, I think it was 30,000 of her emails. Um, I thought it was a similar kind of scandal when in the Trump administration they had disappearing messages that they were using between officials and politicians. Likewise, you had the Boris Johnson government during COVID.
Yep.
They were later found when they had the public inquiry that when the investigators wanted to understand the decisions that had been made. They found that they couldn't access them because the ministers had been using WhatsApp,
Okay.
um, private WhatsApp accounts instead of using official channels. And so those things weren't recoverable. And yes, as I just mentioned before, Claire Curran back in 2018, it was part of the reason she lost her ministerial job because she'd been using Gmail for official business and had set up a meeting, an infamous meeting, I think, with a journalist, in fact, off the record, off the books,
Yeah.
and you can't do that when you're a minister. So the big issue here is that ministers need to be scrutinised. They need to have all of their communications archived and available for scrutiny. For what we have in New Zealand, of course, is the Official Information Act,
Yep.
which allows you and me, the public, to be able to request certain information. It means Parliament, the media can scrutinise things when things go wrong, especially. And so the skepticism here is that the likes of Hillary Clinton or Boris Johnson were trying to
Okay.
sidestep accountability. And so it's hard to say whether this is the case with
Yeah.
Erica Stanford. We don't know that. And look, she's a pretty straight-laced sort of minister, so I was surprised about this,
Hmm.
and maybe we do have to give her the benefit of the doubt about that.
And
And
hey, maybe I'm extending the grace because I am a person of a certain age, and Gmail accounts confuse me on a good day. Honestly, is it an issue?
same.
Do you think of integrity, or is it just a little bit of tech incompetence that they couldn't get the printer to work? You had these pesky emails which were unsolicited anyway. No harm, no foul. She just wanted to get them out of her inbox. Perhaps we've all been there, and honestly, as I said in the intro, this isn't state secrets. This is her spam box, really, isn't it?
Well, look, some of them were state secrets,
Okay.
some of them were budget documents, and when those get into the wrong hands, and so that's the other aspect
Hmm.
that if you're using insecure channels of communication, which is arguably Gmail,
Yep.
it can fall into the wrong hands, and you do increasingly in our day and age have hackers that want to get this information, and it can be of huge financial benefit to certain interests
Yep.
if they get early budget information about what the government's going to do. It can affect investments. So I think for that reason, it's very sloppy.
Yep.
But yeah, regardless of whether the minister was just a bit incompetent, sloppy, it suggests that they don't have the proper systems in place
Yeah.
to deal with these things. I mean, it's a bit ridiculous that the printers wouldn't print, or that there weren't systems set up for her Gmail.
Yeah.
And so you expect something a bit more rigorous for the highest sort of
Yeah.
offices in the land. And so yeah, I think maybe we should always be somewhat kind to our politicians when they stuff up, but I don't think that should get them off the hook.
Yeah. But possibly not losing their job over it. I just want to contrast, though, the responses from Prime Minister and Leader of the Opposition on this one. From Chris Hipkins' point of view, this is a hanging offence. Christopher Luxon, of course, is backing his minister and saying, hey, no harm, no foul, nothing to see here.
Yeah, look, is it a hanging offence? I don't think so, unless more comes to light. It was a hanging offence, like I said, for Claire Curran back in 2018. And to me, it seemed pretty obvious that, from what I remember at least, she was attempting to evade scrutiny by setting up meetings off the radar, using back channels for this. And so it was appropriate that she had to step down in the end. And of course, National at the time were calling for that. And I think it was Nick Smith. He was the spokesperson for National on Open Government at the time. And he said, look, this defeats the whole purpose of having an Official Information Act if Gmail can be used by ministers. And that's why this is such a serious thing. We just cannot let any, the start to become a thing. And I think he was right. So he took it seriously then. I think Labor's right to take it seriously now. And I was disappointed with Prime Minister Luxon's response to it. I expected that he would have taken it a bit more seriously and said, oh, look, a mistake's been made here. I take it seriously. I'm making sure the minister is fixing this up. Instead, he said, no, I'm super relaxed about this. No harm done, no problem, move on, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I thought that sent the wrong signal entirely.
And certainly from a journalist point of view, when the Prime Minister says nothing to see here, it's probably time to investigate, right? And as
so I don't think I don't think he did himself any favors in that either by being super relaxed.
It doesn't make any difference in what was in the emails, what Gmail was used for in this instance, or is this just a principle that you would expect government ministers to be able to get right, or perhaps to make sure that they've got the staff that understands the tech, even if they're struggling with some of it?
Yeah, to me, it's more the principle here. I mean, I haven't paid too much attention to what were in the emails. But yeah, I might be wrong on that. If the emails show that it's very clear ministerial business that's being done, I think that makes it worse. But and we saw yesterday that some other ministers started to admit. I think we had Chris Bishop and Nicola Willis also saying that they occasionally use Gmail very carefully, I think they said. So, no, it's just the principle. I do think, again, maybe the ministers are victims of bad technology and the fact that the cabinet manual, it's kind of clear, but it's not really clear enough, I think. It should be saying, these are the scenarios where you can use WhatsApp or Signal or Facebook, and this is what happens if you get a direct message in your Facebook account, etc. It doesn't say those sort of things. So maybe ministers are a bit sold short in their training, their advice on how to handle these things. And this is just getting bigger and bigger around the world at the moment.
Yeah, certainly, and perhaps some clear procedures and what's right and what's wrong in this scenario on both sides of the house would be useful moving forward. Well, Bryce, thank you so much for what you do with the Integrity Institute. Thanks for your analysis on this issue and for joining us today.
Thanks, Andrew.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.